Hi guys. So tomorrow is a Valentine's Day and I've chosen today to speak about relationships. I don't have anything ready, so I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm going to try not to make it very long because I know that people have lives and other things to do than watch me all day long talking. So my experience with relationships, I'm going to try not to meddle too much astrology into this, to make it more about life, less about astrology. But I will mention a few things, astrological things, but predominantly I'm going to stick to just life. In my experience, for the majority of my adult life, I attracted not necessarily the relationships that I wanted, but I guess that's what happens when we don't truly know what we're looking for and when we don't really know ourselves. And then we attract by default, and we usually attract people to show us the opposite, the polarity to what we want, which is very similar to the entire purpose of life, that we usually born into the environment, which is the opposite of what we want to experience, so we can see what the other side looks like. So I believe, from my experience anyway, that the relationship I had in the early stages of my adult life were reflecting that, were reflecting the parts of myself that I was unaware of, and perhaps the parts of myself that I wasn't able to recognize or integrate, and they were all coming up. During these relationships. Usually relationships are the best ways to learn about ourselves because they provide a mirror. It's the Aries Libra archetype. Aries is all about me and Libra is all about the other person, and the other person reflects to me who I am. So that's how most of us learn, and of course we learn through all relationships, not just romantic relationships, but usually it's the romantic relationship where we learn the most and we learn the hardest and the fastest. Yeah, it's like the fast track to knowing yourself. So until about 5 years ago, I would say, I was attracting the same kind of guy, I would say. He was called something else, he looked a little bit different, but it was the same energy and the outcome was always the same. And by this point I was kind of starting to understand that, well, it's not the guy, it's me. Because it cannot be just only one type of guy in the world, right? Because I know that it's very easy to slip into the victimhood mentality, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, especially when the girls get together and like, no, it's the guy's fault, it's always the guy's fault, and they're all the same, they all all kind of labels and stuff, and actually no, because everything serves a purpose, and the people we attract into our lives, it's usually soul contracts, especially if there is a strong connection, but they too help us to learn something about ourselves, and usually they bring a lot of triggers which brought things from our subconscious. They are usually the aspects of ourselves that got rejected in a childhood because they were not accepted by the society or our environment, the environment we were brought up at. These things usually get brought to attention, and then they had to kind of be worked at and integrated, or it's an opportunity for integration. It doesn't always happen. So about 5 years ago, things started to change slightly because my boyfriend at the time, and obviously didn't work out again, but that kind of finally got me to the direction of searching, going a little bit deeper and learning more about spirituality. That's actually where I started really learning about crystals and, diving deeper and learning more about myself. And and it seems like, especially like my astrology chart perfectly explains it, I have Pluto in opposition with Sun, which is the ruler of my seventh house. So the biggest transformation for me always comes through relationships, and usually when I feel disempowered in some way, one way or another. So usually that's why I attract men, or used to attract men that made me feel not good way. So that's why then I have to, when the things don't end, I have to go and learn about what gone wrong, and what made me feel disempowered, and how can I correct that? How can I make myself feel more empowered, more in control of my life and of my choices? So then after that, things changed, and the two relationships I had following up were very different from my previous relationships, and they kind of accelerated my spiritual path. The relationship in between, the second one, was definitely the one that completely changed my path, my direction. It was the red pilling time, and that also didn't work out, of course, as the story goes, story of my life. And then until and that actually was the biggest catalyst for the change that came into my life. It was the biggest the time of biggest spiritual awakening for me after that breakup. That was actually just after, during the COVID time, during the COVID period. And then I was actually in Mexico at the time, and then when I came back to England, then I spent 10 months of doing a very deep shadow work, soul searching. I came across a lot of the teachers that I follow still to this date. Some I still do, some I don't, but a lot of them I still do. And my awakening path and spiritual path accelerated massively. And that's actually where I came across evolutionary astrology, which changed my life completely. So all in all the relationship that I attracted into my life really brought me to the point where I'm now. That's why I personally, from my personal experience, I don't believe into, why is this happening to me and poor me, and all these guys are a-holes and it's all their fault. Like we only attract what we are in resonance with, and that's why the higher is our vibration, the more we integrate our trauma, our like subconscious things, the more we start attracting consciously, and we actually attract people that are our closer match. The more we get to know ourselves, and then we know ourselves, and more we integrate our trauma, or at least acknowledge our trauma, because obviously shadow work is a whole life work. It's not something that ever gets done and then like we done, okay, now no more. It just doesn't happen, not at least I don't think in 3D reality anyway. So that's how we start attracting more consciously, and then it's usually people that are more our vibrational match. So after the 10 months of very deep shadow work and soul searching and deep spiritual work and learning astrology and evolutionary astrology and stuff, then somehow my twin flame turned up on scene very unexpectedly, in a very unexpected circumstances, in a very unexpected place. It was all very fated, really, because if I was to make up the scenario, I would never choose the consequences, how it happened. And actually, this is kind of why I decided to talk about this, because again, I got inspired by Amanda Ellis and her video, which I shared 2 days ago. Well, actually yesterday, she made it 2 days ago, but I was sick. It was the 11/11 for me, sick in a bed, receiving all the energies the portal had to offer. So I guess I had to be standstill for that and just lie in a bed. So she really inspired me to actually open up about my own experience, about the twin flame experience, where I can tell that it's very, very different. I've never experienced anything like that ever, and I don't expect to experience something like this again. Although in different videos also Amanda talks about the fact that it's an energy, it's not necessarily a person, and it can just be transferred into another person if that person is not able to fulfill the goal of whatever there is, the path for the souls to accomplish. So so that was very interesting year of my life last year with my twin flame. We spent 7 months together, and then another 2 months in separation until things kind of came to its end, and these 7 months were very transformative. Actually, the time that followed was even more transformative, because, as I said, this is usually how it happens for me. Things really properly start accelerating when the relationship is kind of finished, and then I can do all the introspection and put the learned knowledge into action. So that's pretty much what happened. And And that's what brought me here, and walking my path and doing the work and kind of showing up for myself. And that's kind of what I learned in my last relationship, that the most important thing in relationships is to learn about boundaries and learn about what you are willing to accept and not, and also know your own place and your own value, because otherwise you're just going to attract by default. So you really need to know yourself, and you need to know what you're looking for, and what are your boundaries, because as also Natalia Kobylkina, another person that I respect and follow, says in her courses, that you always have to choose yourself. About anybody else, you have to always choose yourself, because you are the person that you are with for the rest of your life. And also Teal Swan, she many times refers to this, that if you compromise and like sacrifice yourself and who you are and what you need, then you betraying yourself, which is the biggest betrayal, and it's kind of self-hate, whereas it's like the polarity of self-love, of course. And that's why, like, I guess all relationships are, they are all to lead us to this point where we actually learn who we really are, what we really need, and where are our boundaries, and how do we set up these boundaries. And it's all a path. It's all about growing, and there is no blame. There is no good and bad even. It's just literally, it's a growing process. And the reality that we live in is it's a projection of our inner world. So every relationship is to teach us about ourselves, and that's literally how it is. So yeah, in regards of the twin flame path, and I think once people become like more conscious, because now we are living in the world where the relationships and the dynamic of relationships are changing. It's obviously changing in the way how relationships are going to be defined in the future, which is another thing that Teal Swan was talking about this past weekend. And she was diving deeper into polyamory, and how it's going to become perhaps more and more the common thing in the society as the time goes on, and as this new generation, the Pluto in Scorpio, and Pluto in Sagittarius, and then obviously later on Pluto in Capricorn, and then the generation that will now be born, Pluto in Aquarius. When this generation will grow up, well, obviously Sagittarius are already young adults, and they already have in relationships, but they're much more open-minded. For them, the definitions of relationships are very different to what we were growing up in my generation, and obviously the generations before me. For them, there are not the same boundaries as what we had. Different way of thinking, different way of relating to each other even. And so anyway, so the relationships as we know them, and what people are going to be seeking in upcoming years or decades will be very different. It's not going to be for every single person. Like, obviously some people will still choose the traditional way, but there will be much more wider range of what is acceptable, and people will be just open to different things. I'm not saying it's my thing, okay? I'm just saying that there will be a lot of different options, many more options, and people will not be ashamed to go for it, because still in current times people are struggling with guilt and shame if they want something that is outside of the norm. And this is what the Aquarian age is going to change. People are going to be more comfortable with being who they are and needing what they need, and just living authentic life without having to feel guilty for it. So that's one aspect of it, of course. But then the other aspect, the spiritual aspect of it, is that the past relationships were based on the base chakras. It was all about the security and stability, and obviously the sexual compatibility. So, sex is great. Okay, let's get married. And then it was the solar plexus, which was all about the confidence. Like, okay, now I've got this trophy wife, so now I feel great. I'm confident, I can make more money, whatever. I'm not saying that's how it is, but like in the past, these were the main three things people were looking out for, especially as the time goes more back, it was predominantly the base chakra. It was all about the security, stability. It was like, okay, let's get the resources together and create this survival for ourselves. And then obviously the next chakra up, which was all about the pleasure and sexuality and procreation, having kids and all that. But now, as the time is changing and people are awakening and working on themselves spiritually, people are actually going to be connecting from the higher chakras as well. So it's like connecting from the heart, but it's also to be able to connect from the higher chakras, which are the more spiritual chakras, like the throat, the third eye, and the crown chakra. Obviously there are other chakras as well. These are just the main 7 known. And that's how the relationships will also change. So where people will no longer be in alignment, like wholesomely, things will just not work. And this is going to become more and more tangible, especially now this year, as I've spoken before, when these nodes are going to shift into Libra Aries, from Taurus Scorpio into Libra Aries. So first of all, the North Node is going to go into Aries, so people going to be learning more about themselves. It's all like this innocent, childlike energy where, who am I? Like a little toddler. It's just going out there, discovering the world, and who am I? Like it's just going to learn about itself. So for most people, I'm sorry, it's really hot here. So for most people, this is going to be like a completely new direction in their lives. And, a lot of it will be in regards of relationship, whether it's romantic relationship, work relationship, friendships, whatever it is. But it's going to be a completely new direction, because people will start learning more about themselves and what they are willing to accept and what they are not willing to accept anymore. And then the South Node will be in Libra, so that's about letting go of these codependent tendencies and people pleasing, and like creating this balance no matter what, because sometimes people just don't want to get into conflict because it's just more comfortable just to leave things be as they are, to just have peace and quiet. But that will be no more, because this is all gonna shift now in this upcoming year and a half, 2 years. Obviously the nodes are not changing until July, but that will be then in action until the end of next year. So we're going to feel different. Like there will be a lot of shifts in regards of relationship, and obviously romantic relationships as well. And that again will help people to start attracting partners that are more compatible with themselves. Because once they start learning about themselves, they will stop attracting by default people that are to teach them lessons about themselves, which perhaps they no longer have to repeat, or once they learn, they don't have to have the same lesson. They will attract lesson that is about something else, right? And going back to this twin flame path, well, the thing between flames, like I guess like Amanda says, it's a privilege, kind of like, to have this experience. It doesn't happen I guess for everyone. I don't know, I only have my experience to compare it to myself, because I haven't lived some other person's life in this incarnation, at least that I know of. That's probably a lie as well, but as long as I'm aware of. The fact is that, and I can see it now, I can feel it now, because of the changes that has happened in my life in past 2 months, and the path that I'm on, that I will no longer be able to go back to some relationship that is just, for the security purposes, or, just because there is good intimacy or whatever, like anything like that, because now I'm on a certain path, and I can only be with a person that is on the same path as me, because this is my purpose. This is why I'm here on this planet. This is why I came. This is why I was incarnated. And in order for me to be in a romantic union, it has to be with someone who is walking the same path, and pretty much it's dedicated also to their self-growth and self-improvement and self-empowerment. So that's why it's I guess it gets better, but it also gets kind of more challenging as the life goes on, and the more people get to learn about themselves, then they get a little bit, the standards get a little bit higher. But it's not in a way that somebody needs to be better looking or richer, or the old standards, the old standards that were accepted by the society. This is a very different way how people will be choosing partners, I suppose, in the future. And I guess it's gonna be different for everyone. But like from my personal experience, like after after getting on the path of the twin flame and like having the experience with my twin flame, is impossible for me to go back to dating in a way that I was dating before. So it's just pretty much like it's going to be this new way or no way. So there could be a potential of having just a single life and just doing what I'm doing on my own. So it's all good, guys. It's all good. And yeah, usually it's like when we just let it all go, when we just let go of all these expectations and definitions and labels that we put on ourselves, and that's when it's just like it just brings the peace in life, because otherwise there is just so much pressure. Obviously there is so much pressure as it is already from the society and this old programming and conditioning that things have to be certain way, relationship have to look certain way, and you have to be married by a certain age, and you have to have kids by a certain age, and there is all these restrictions, all these very, very black and white, very rigid definitions of how everything should be, and that's not the way things are going to be in the future. And I'm very Aquarian, so for me it's already happening now. For me, I don't even need to wait for the future. For me, it's already happening, and yeah, and there was something very beautiful that Amanda said. I actually wrote it down, and I want to just mention it. It's just literally one thing, and she said that for these twin flames, in order, I guess, for them to be in a union, like physical union, because like she said, that once they meet, the connection is made, and this connection always exists. It's like in this mythical time that she talks about in this video. If you still haven't watched it, guys, and you are interested in this twin flame stuff, what are you waiting for? This video is amazing. And for me personally, because like I said, I'm on this path, and me and my twin, we are no longer together. I was gobsmacked, because I found so much validation in this video, and I am pretty sure that my twin flame is experiencing exactly what she's describing. It feels very right for me, and also my cards are saying a similar message. Sorry, my language is not very good today. So anyway, so she said for these twin flames to be together in a physical union, or to meet again, they have to do the sacred soul work, and that's exactly what I feel like. I feel like I found my path. I'm now embarking my path, and the only way I can be in a union with my twin, or whether it's gonna be the same or different, depends, like obviously on the energy. Is if the person is walking the same path, and if we can co-create something that has a meaning for everyone, that is not just for financial gains or just for ego satisfaction, but it has a deeper, higher purpose. And then I'm just mingling all these things together, astrology and Aquarian age and spirituality all together. But this is just how my brain works today. I'm sorry if it's not very coherent, doesn't make much sense, but anyway, so that is my experience. This is my this is pretty much where I'm at, with all these relationship dynamics and twin flame paths. And currently I'm just learning more and more as I go along, just trying to walk my path and just be at peace with the things that I chose, I guess, prior to my incarnation, and just finally being in alignment with what I'm here to do. And I'm really grateful. And I'm very, very grateful for the experience that I had that led me to this point, and especially the experiences that I had with my twin. And like I said, I learned the most about the relationship after the relationship was finished, because sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, right? When you are in the relationship, then you can't see a lot of things that you can see when you're not in it, and you can look at things more objectively. And now I can see all the mistakes or all the learning curves that I have made in that union. And I can say that I wish I knew I could have done things differently, but then I wouldn't have known and I wouldn't have learned. So now I understand many things in a very different light, and much better than I did at that time. But that just makes us stronger, and it brings us where we are right now, and there is no point regretting or wishing to bring past into the future or anything. So life just goes on, and we always have to have trust that things are happening for a reason, and the best is yet to come. The best is here. That's what people say, that there is only now, so the best is already here, right? Okay, guys, I'm just gonna leave it at that, because this video is just, it just doesn't have much of a structure. But I just thought that I'll just tell my little story about relationship, even though it's very personal to me and it might not resonate with many people. But the bottom line about relationship is that they always teach you something, and it's something about yourself, and they always make you a better person at the end, because or they give you an opportunity to become a better person, because there is no such a thing as bad experience. They all teach you, and sometimes from the worst relationship that the people like change their life perfectly, and that brought them into the best path of their life, and that's usually how it happens with anything in life. It doesn't have to be relationship. Usually the hardest thing leads to the best result. So yeah, here we are. Let's just keep walking. Let's just keep going, and see where this life will take us. And yeah, we're in for more surprises this year with all these astrological changes. So let's just keep eyes open and see how it's going to change our relationships and our attitudes towards them. Okay, guys, much love. Have fun tomorrow at the Valentine's Day. I'll be busy doing readings, so you probably won't hear from me. But yeah, much love to everyone, and have a great week. Bye.